Prime Minister has made it very clear that he's going to run the next campaign.
Jagmeet Singh, he has come out with his Confidence Day motion. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today's top stories. We've got Jagmeet here, and as the leader of the NDP, he has one Confidence Day motion that he can put forward. So does the Bloc, and I believe Pierre Poilievre has 3 of those. Jagmeet said in a recent press conference what he's planning to do with it. We've also got a recent poll on how Canadians would vote in the American election. We also got some updates on the interest rate, the Bloc, and some other stuff. Let's jump into this. Breaking: Auditor General to investigate Trudeau government contracts with shady IT company. Yeah, so apparently here, this is from Larry Brock. It says, Auditor General confirmed that her office is launching investigation to GC Strategies, who've received over 100 million in contracts. Here, I thought it was whatever, 54 million. No, it's 100 million. Get these guys in jail. You know, Darren Anthony or whatever his name is, and Christian Firth. Like, why are these guys not in prison? Min Doan, the former chief information officer of the CBSA, who played a major role in managing Trudeau's $59 million RiveCan scam, cannot provide emails related to his work app as they've apparently vanished. Yeah, he's deleted, I think it was 3,000 emails. This guy's deleted. He should be 100% in jail. Even if it's just for deleting those emails, deleting evidence, put him in jail. I think 10 years in jail, might jog his memory where those emails went. Next up, we got this one. It says, clock's running out for the Liberals to meet the Bloc's demands and avoid potential snap election. So we've got the update here on the Bloc. We also got the update on Jagmeet, who has stated what he wants to do with his vote of confidence or non-confidence in the government. The Conservatives also have 3 more, I believe, before the end of the year.
Justin Trudeau will have more negotiating to do next week. The Bloc Québécois set a deadline for Liberal cooperation, saying if they don't get it, they will look to bring down the minority government. CTV's Rachel Aiello joins us now. Rachel, the leader jumped from one challenge to the next.
Marilla, after brushing off a deadline from his MPs, another ultimatum tied to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's ability to stay in power is set to expire next week.
From the outset of the fall sitting, Justin Trudeau has relied on votes from the Bloc Québécois and the NDP to keep his minority Liberal government alive. But next Tuesday, the clock will run out on the 5 weeks Yves-François Blanchet gave the Liberals to heed his demands. The Bloc wanted help passing bills to boost seniors' benefits and protect supply management, or they'd start talking to the other opposition parties about triggering a snap election.
So we're not inflexible. We've been open enough.
With no signs the Liberals are ready to make a deal, they're likely to lose the Bloc's backing, leaving the NDP to be their only potential parliamentary dance partner. A potential brief reprieve? NDP leader Jagmeet Singh revealed this week that he won't be using the only NDP Opposition Day motion of the fall to try to bring the government down.
Different from the Conservatives, our focus is to get things done for people.
That said, it remains to be seen when the next Opposition Day will be, or when another non-confidence motion could be moved, as the House of Commons remains at a standstill, with the Conservatives and Liberals still fighting over releasing unredacted Green Tech Fund documents.
I'm surprised they even mentioned that on the news. Jump over to this clip. We've got it straight from the horse's mouth. Aside from Jagmeet saying he wants to get things done for people, this is what he had to say about his one Confidence Day motion. Now, this press conference is about abortion and not about that, but he did mention it in the middle here.
The right to an abortion is only as strong as access to that right is. And that's the truth in Canada. The right to access has actually gotten harder. It's gotten worse. And so that's why we say it's your body, it's your life, it is your choice. You should be able to choose. And that's why we said we've had enough. We've had enough of Justin Trudeau and the Liberals delaying and not actually tackling this issue head on. They're not standing up to the real threat of Conservatives. And so that's why for our Opposition Day motion, we will be tabling a motion calling for urgent action to expand access to abortion services. And that specifically means that Canada needs to enforce the Canada Health Act to ensure that people can get access wherever they are across the country.
So expanded services, that's what, this is funny because a guy just said, we've had enough of Justin Trudeau, and then there he goes supporting Justin Trudeau. Come on, Jagmeet, just come out on this press conference and say, you know what, guys, it's almost November. Just count the months, November, December, January. I just got 3 months to hang around to get that $2.2 million juicy pension that'll change my life. Just say that. Just say that. You'll get a little bit of respect from people for being honest, even though you're a scumbag. You would get a little bit of respect for being a dirtbag that's at least speaking his truth for once. But he won't do that. He's put it under the guise of abortion services. Give me a break. If you go much further, like we're talking 20 minutes further into this, it's just like him attacking Pierre Poilievre. That's all this is.
And so we've not seen that commitment to defend our public healthcare system. And so as a result, people are saying, I can't get a doctor. I can't find a home that I can afford. I'm feeling stressed out. I can't get a job that pays the bills. And all that is the consequence of both Liberals and Conservatives. If you think things are bad with Justin Trudeau, things would be even worse under Pierre Poilievre. Both of them have shown a track record where they failed on these matters, but Pierre Poilievre would cut things even worse. And so I believe Canadians understand how important immigration is. But right now, given the lack of a housing, given the lack of access to healthcare, given the lack of good opportunities to work, people are worried. And so
this guy is he's using Poilievre as a shield for his pension. It's unbelievable.
For that, I think we should always be in mind meeting our needs with our immigration levels.
Oh, really? So we should be reducing them now? I thought you had a deal there with Trudeau to bring in more voters for yourself. Isn't that what was going on? Next up, we got one of Trudeau's ministers here. This one, Soriaria Martinez Ferrada. She's asked about Trudeau not even spending a full 24 hours to think about the 24 people who wanted him to leave.
Do you feel comfortable sitting in caucus with members who have publicly said the Prime Minister should quit? And how do you respond to the concerns from some of your colleagues that the Prime Minister did not spend enough time to reflect on questions about his leadership?
So one thing I feel very comfortable in is that we're in a party that actually have that open conversations, which honestly, when you look at other parties, especially in the Conservative Party, that's not the case. Second of all, one thing that unites all caucus, is we're all there to beat Poilievre. And we are committed to a campaign that whenever it happens, we want to make sure that the Conservative parties will not be in government. And that we're united on that.
Just listen to this government. All they care about is beating Poilievre versus making what's better for us. They forget who they serve. They forget what they're even doing. They just want to beat Poilievre. What kind of loser language is this? How about you do your job and make life good for Canadians? They haven't talked about that once. Like, do they not get it? They don't get it at all. They think this is some game where they can beat Poilievre and keep their high-paying paychecks that come from us. That's all they care about. That's what exactly that language means. They need to beat Poilievre so they can keep laundering our money, stealing our money, funneling it into business bank accounts, more scandals, enriching themselves, and not have Poilievre put an end to their ungodly amounts of corruption and theft that they are burdening Canadians with. That's what this is right here.
Prime Minister has made it very clear that he's going to run the next campaign. After that, my colleagues are, all united in the fact that, well, if he's going to go, we got to go. And we have to make sure that our campaign will be focused on making sure that we're giving the choices to Canadians in order to hopefully not vote for Conservative. Because we're going to go back on many progress that we have made. If you think that a Conservative Party would finance the crisis of opiate like we're doing today, it's a huge mistake.
You guys are a huge mistake. Get out of our government. You're a bunch of thieves. In other news, we've got a job site is completely empty one day after CBSA raids in Edmonton.
Immigration ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਫਲਾਈ ਆਵਾਂ ਕੈਸ਼ ਜੌਬਾਂ ਲਈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਲੀ ਕਰ ਦਈਏ ਥਾਵਾਂ.
So I don't know what this guy's saying, but I'm assuming cash job means cash job. Yeah. Welcome to Edmonton. Next up, with the interest rate drops, it's just dropped 50 basis points. I wanted to just show this here. If you have a variable rate mortgage, they give a bit of an insight to what that'll do to your mortgage.
What sort of impact do you think it is going to have on the average Canadian consumer, and when?
So on consumers, you're not going to feel anything tomorrow morning when you go to the grocery store. It's not like prices are going to seem much more attainable. It's not like money is going to feel cheaper. None of that is going to happen. The only people that are immediately affected by this are variable rate mortgage holders, the first-time home buyers, or any home buyer that's in the market right now. They can now afford a little bit more, so you can call your bank tomorrow and see what that new level of borrowing could be for you. And people who have borrowed money out of their home equity line of credit or an unsecured line of credit. Really, it's going to take a year to a year and a half to really feel it on a consumer level, where you feel like, okay, life feels more affordable, prices feel more predictable. That's going to take a lot more time.
Okay, so for those folks that you honed in on, variable mortgage rate holders, which I am one of, full disclosure, is there going to be a significant difference, or is this not going to make a huge difference to the bottom line.
No, it is a significant difference. I did the numbers for a $300,000 mortgage, which, in places like Toronto and Vancouver could be triple that for some people. Yeah. But for a $300,000 mortgage, if you were at prime, which you may have negotiated a better rate, but just for mathematics sake, just, using a number, that your old payment would have been about $2,000, and your new payment with 50 basis point less will be about $1,900. So you'll save about $90 to $100 a month, which over a year is more than $1,200. So it's nothing to sniff at. I mean, that $1,200 translates to possibly a small vacation or a small renovation in your home.
Something to note is some of the banks, I can't remember which ones, RBC, TD, and another one, they don't necessarily give you those decrease in your mortgage. Depending on the bank, they have a clause in there that will keep you at the higher rate, even though the rate is dropped. They may take that extra profit. So make sure to talk to your bank and actually see if you're getting a lower rate. Otherwise, you might want to switch and get a different mortgage with a bank that doesn't absolutely screw you, which is kind of hard in Canada because they're all a bunch of thieves. But something also to note about the interest rate cut, you won't see these effects. They filter through the economy. It takes like a year to year and a half before we see this. So really, when Poilievre gets in, we'll start to see that it'll actually get better when he gets in because of these drops right now, which is good. But he's got a whole mess to clean up. Like this is just one little thing. There is an absolute crap storm of garbage piled up because of Justin Trudeau that Poilievre's going to have to clean up. Next up, we got this one from Senator Don Plett. He's basically pointing out that firearms owners, law-abiding ones in Canada, are being targeted, where we've got thieves running around with unlicensed pew-pews just running rampant in our streets. And what would you expect? Another weak answer from Mark Gold.
Leader, yesterday, our out-of-touch Prime Minister congratulated himself on the second anniversary of his choice to target licensed, trained, and law-abiding gun owners instead of going after gangs and gun smugglers. In response, the Toronto Police Association said, and I quote, Leader, "Criminals did not get your message. Our communities are experiencing a 45% increase in shootings and a 62% increase in gun-related homicides compared to this time last year. What difference does your handgun make when 85% of guns seized by our members can be sourced to the United States?" Leader, that's an excellent question. What is your response, Leader? Not just to me, a partisan conservative, as you like to say, but to the Toronto Police.
Shane.
Senator Gold.
Thank you for your question. I personally and this government has enormous responsibility for the police forces in Toronto and across the country that work tirelessly to keep Canadians safe and put themselves in harm's way. And there's no question that the proliferation of violence on our streets, gun violence and others, is a threat to all of us, but especially to those in the front lines who have taken on the sacred duty to protect us. This government's legislation on firearms, its commitment to reduce the number of firearms on the streets, to focus on those that have been used in mass shootings, is something that this government stands on and will continue to. It has worked to reduce the inflow of guns from the United States and will continue to do what's necessary to keep Canadians safe.
Senator Plett.
The Toronto Police Association also told him this: "Your statement is out of touch and offensive to victims of crime and police officers everywhere." I would echo that in this chamber. Whatever you think you've done to improve community safety has not worked. Who should Canadians believe? The men and women on the ground who protect our communities daily, or the prime ministers whose policy makes their jobs even tougher?
Senator
Canadians should have confidence in their police forces. It is normal in a democracy for different institutions to have different perspectives on matters pertaining to public safety, especially ones so sensitive to the well-being of each and every Canadian and our communities. This government stands by its policy on gun violence, as it does stand on its policy in criminal law more generally.
Trudeau should be made to go out with some of these police force in the most dangerous areas and just to show what he's doing to our police forces. And the policies he's put in place, he should have to at least endure it for one night. These answers are absolutely weak by Senator Gold here. So next up here, we've got this. This is a new poll that came out that's being really pushed heavily on the left. This is 64% of Canadians would vote for Kamala Harris, 21% would vote for Donald Trump, 15% are unsure. So the left are running with this like this is some sort of like this is just some big revelation. So first off, this poll done by Ledger here had 1,500 respondents, 1,562. You can see down here. So the sample size is not that large. What's interesting to note about this, though, is we don't have really far right. That's the PPC is the far right, which is what the Republicans' Donald Trump is. But in Canada, like Pierre Poilievre is center right. It's not far right. Simply by where our population sits on the scale, everyone is around the center or to the left. Now, there definitely are politically far-right Canadians. I'm sure many of you are watching this channel, but just based on how our parties have been over the years, Canada just doesn't have that extreme far-right Republican-style party like is in America. So I'm not really surprised by these numbers. We've got another one here. This basically says that out of just conservative voters in Canada, 45% would back Trump and 42% would back Harris. So it's almost a 50-50 split among conservatives, and then you add in the liberals, and obviously that's where you get that higher number of 64%. Then again, though, this is only 1,500 people. It's not that big of a sample size. There's some other data in here. 7 out of 10 Canadians are interested in U.S. elections, while 30% are not. 85 of respondents were 55 or older. The younger the age, the less people don't care about politics. After people realize all their money is going to the government and the government's not helping them, then they started caring about politics. There's a few other numbers here. It says Canadians believe Harris would perform better than Donald Trump on all issues surveyed, particularly on climate change, 68% versus 14% for Trump. Trade relations with Canada, 64% versus 18%. Immigration, 58 versus 28. National security, 58 versus 28. And current conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East, 56 versus 26%. And the U.S. economy, 54 versus 30%. So, I mean, once again, the Canadian population in general is floating around the center and to the left versus America. There's very far left and very far right, and there's a full spectrum in between. So not really a shock here. Jumping over to my group, let's see what memes we've got today. Oh my God, don't tell me we'll get rid of Chrystia Freeland and get Christy Clark. You're arguably trading one terrible politician for one that's even worse. Like Christy Clark is actually one level worse than Chrystia Freeland. She's Justin Trudeau level worse. Samadoun is threatening to sue Trudeau and Poilievre for recklessly accusing the anti-Israel advocacy group of being a T-word entity. That is hilarious. Time to sit down. We've got bills, all these ones: Canadian sovereignty, controlled speech, digital identification, Bank of Canada reform, universal basic income. This one was already struck down. Censorship, disarm citizens. There's not really much happening on this one. More censorship, communist dictatorship. Mistake. Listen up, girls. Unless they're wearing a diaper, you can't change them. What do you trust more, Justin Trudeau, weather predictions made by large rodent? This guy gives me the EBGBs. Who can lie better? British Columbians don't need lies. I looked into it. You did nothing wrong. Our research shows 1 out of 10 Trudeau supporters is just as stupid as the other 4. So there we have it. Jagmeet Singh doesn't care about Canadians. This is actually the first time it's a real tell. He did vote against the Conservatives in the first motion there, but he used the shield of Pierre Poilievre as the reason for not voting against the government. But now that we have the SDTC scandal blowing up, this is quite scathing. He is definitely in bed with Trudeau. This just proves it. Whether he's got a plan with Trudeau or he's just using Trudeau to get his pension, who knows? We'll find out in February, that's for sure. Because if he flips the script and calls an election right after February, that we know for sure is the pension. If he keeps supporting Trudeau and keeps pushing this along till October, well, then they have some other nefarious plan in mind. One thing we can be pretty certain about, though, is Blanchette, the Bloc leader, he doesn't care either way. He just wants to get more support for the Bloc. So he'll support Trudeau when he can get something for his party, and if it means supporting Poilievre, then that's what he'll do if it's beneficial to the Bloc. So I think he's actually pretty transparent as what Canadians are going to expect from him, which way he's going to vote, but Jagmeet, not so much. The key question is, with the looming Monday deadline of Trudeau having to step down and the fact he's already said he's staying on, are these 24 Liberals going to do something about it?